Hey guys, today we have an episode from Ryan Nile Show, which kind of crosses over to For the Creators as well, so I'm going to post it here. Remember to subscribe to my new podcast, which is Ryan Nile Show, and search Ryan Nile Show on YouTube. Hey guys, welcome back to the Ryan Nile Show. Today I'm sitting down with Alya Mooro. Alya Mooro is a Cairo-born, London-based author who is passionate about changing assumptions and preconceptions about Middle Eastern women. In today's episode, we discuss shame, guilt, love, sex, marriage, interracial relationships, community pressure, cultural identity, and what it's like to be an outsider. We also talk about the reality of writing a book, especially one that goes against the grain by celebrating your own freedom. Alya's debut book, The Greater Freedom, is part memoir, part social commentary. The book examines the blessings and burdens which form our cultural identities. All the links are in the description. If you want to buy the book, I highly recommend it. I really hope you enjoy this episode. You can watch the full conversation and search Ryan Nile Show on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram at ryan.nile.show for all of the links. Alya Mooro. Is that right?
Alya Mooro.
Oh, that's it. I knew I'd get it
Don't
wrong.
overthink it.
Alya Mooro.
Mooro.
All right, that's it. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Really appreciate it. Because, 7 years ago? This was the other way around.
That's insane. It's so weird. It feels like a literal lifetime ago. Maybe 6 lifetimes ago.
Yeah, well, it definitely feels like that, for sure. I mean, for both of us. And but I've seen you progress massively since then. It's just been amazing to see. And to witness your first book come out, it's just, wow.
It's really surreal. I can't even tell you. Like, it's just such a weird, like, walking in and just seeing it here in front of you. I'm just like, what? It's actually out in the world.
It's amazing.
It's bizarre.
Yeah, what does that feel like?
Really weird, honestly. Like, I don't know what I would do if I was to be out and I was to see someone reading it. I think I would just go up to them like, oh my God, I wrote that. My friend was on the bus the other day reading it and someone came up to him and was like, oh my God, like my friend's friend wrote that book. Like I have it at home and stuff. And I think it was like 7 a.m. So he didn't engage in conversation like, oh, she's my friend too.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine what I would do if I saw someone read it in public.
It's mad. I walked past the bookshop on Saturday when I was going to get my haircut, and I did think that, like, what would you're walking past and you see your book in the window, like, that must be nuts.
Yeah, really bizarre.
Because a lot of the times these, they exist in your head. Well, they do exist in your head way before you actually write them, and as a writer, you probably had this moment built up in your head for years. Yeah,
well, even the process of the book itself, like it's been 2.5 years from like inception of the idea. So from coming up to with like actually what I wanted to say, to it being in my hands, it's been 2.5 years. So even that is a really long time.
It's like recording an album.
Yeah,
that's a process.
Yeah.
So just tell the people, what was that idea? What really sparked The Greater Freedom?
There were a couple of like almost opposite things. The first, it felt like opposite things in trying to kind of discuss them in the book. But the first thing was, I think as I got older, I started to sort of feel the pull of both cultures a lot more than I had previously. I think when I was younger, I didn't really think about things. I kind of just like, I was just coming to terms with who I was, and I didn't think this is because I'm from Egypt and this is because I live in London. Like I just kind of was just going. And then I think as I got older and started to like, my mom would be like, oh, when are you going to get married? Or like I'd go to Egypt and all my friends were getting married. And then in London, that was so far from my reality. And like most of my friends here are single, like really small things like that. But they added up and they accumulated and they started to feel like big things almost like, oh, this is interesting. I wonder if it felt like increasingly like a pull of cultures.
Right.
So there was that for starters. And I felt like I really wanted to delve into that and kind of question it. And I'm such a like overthinker. So when I felt like I couldn't, like I had this voice in the back of my head sometimes that was telling me what like the Egyptian society would think of me, and I was like, who the fuck are you guys?
The invisible jury.
Yeah, the invisible jury, I've called it in my book. And I was like, this is so bizarre because my parents aren't even really telling me this. So like, what is this voice? And I wanted to look into that. So that was one thing. And then on the flip side of that, I think it was just like the world is in a really weird place right now. So like Brexit and like Trump and Islamophobia and all of these things. And yeah, fine, I might not obviously look like a Muslim or obviously look necessarily like I'm Middle Eastern, but I am. So I think realizing how dire the kind of situation in the world is and the really reductive stereotypes of what it's supposed to mean to be either of those things started to really piss me off.
Yeah.
Like I was in a cab, in the introduction I talk about this, like I was in an Uber and he was like, where are you from? And I was like, oh, I'm from Egypt. And he couldn't believe it. He was like, I thought you were Spanish because you're not veiled. And I was like, this is really dumb. Like, this fucking ignorant.
Yeah.
And as a journalist, as someone who's grown up in both cultures, as someone who has a really open-minded family whereby I can talk about whatever I want and they won't like be traumatized.
Yeah.
I felt like I really had to because I was like, who am I waiting for? You know, like this is a really important, like I need to contribute to the narrative and I exist, you know, and people don't know that, it seems.
No, exactly. And I mean, look, I'm probably not the target audience for this book in terms of, you know, it doesn't speak to my personal narrative, but I do get it. I do resonate with it because even with my wife is like Indo-Caribbean, so are my sisters, and a lot of the things that you went through, they went through as well.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a story that resonates with a lot of cultures, I found.
Yeah, I think so. And that's what I really felt when I was writing the book. Like, of course, I'm coming at it from a Middle Eastern perspective because that's where I'm from. But actually, as women all around the world, we've been told many of the same things. You know, we have expectations of how we should look, how we should behave. And it was something that I really realized while I was writing the book, actually, is that many of these things are cross-cultural. And I really wanted I tried to make that clear in each chapter as much as I could because I didn't want to pander as well to these narratives of like Middle Eastern women are oppressed or, oh, Muslim women, like poor them, you know, because that's not the case.
No.
Actually, as a world, it's a patriarchal world.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that varies in different, you know, it might be a bit different. But like, for example, in the Middle East, you're supposed to be a virgin until you get married. But then in the West, there's slut shaming. So like, okay, fine. It's not exactly the same, but the ethos behind it kind of is.
Yeah, it's just like different, there's different volumes to how it's expressed or how it's perceived.
Yeah.
But ultimately it's the same thing.
Well, and it's only quite recently in the West that we've moved a little bit away from that as well. Like women used to be considered hysterical if they wanted to like have sex, for example, in the Victorian times.
Yes.
So it's not that long ago.
No, that's not that long ago at all. Yeah. Like, it's mad. What was that like though in terms of, because the book has a theme of like shame and guilt around it. You knowing that you had that itch to write it and knowing that you have that voice and probably, you know, there's other people that need to read this book that would resonate with the story, that you would kind of be their voice. There must have been a fear though around, you know, your community, your family reading the book, and because it's very, very revealing, isn't it?
Yeah. And I feel like part of the reason, but one of the reasons why I'm really glad that it's social commentary as well. So obviously each chapter, it focuses a lot on my experiences, but then I zoom out and I have other women's voices and I have research and stuff. And even my dad called me the other day because he's reading at the moment. And he was like, gosh, you've really like, you know, you're really being honest, you know? And I was like, listen, I'm not just hanging out my dirty laundry for jokes. Like other people feel this way. There's research that backs this up. And I feel like that kind of firstly made me like, I don't feel shame or guilt anymore after writing the book in a way. Cause I'm just like, I worked through that and it's not just me, you know? So I feel like that gave me confidence cause it's just so validated that it's like, this is boring, you know, like this is ridiculous. And actually already like my mom is like, oh my God, you've changed my mindset completely.
Really?
Like you've experienced, you've talked about so many things that I felt as well, but I didn't realize, I didn't know what to do about it, basically.
So you verbalized it.
She was like, you've broken all the barriers and like, thank you, basically. Or like her friend is like 50-something-year-old Egyptian woman who lives in London. She read the book and she went to her mom who's 80.
No.
And she was like, Mom, like, why did you give me this invisible jury? Like, who cares what people think? Read this book. So this 80-year-old woman has now read the book and called my mom, because my mom knows her, and was like, wow, your daughter is so brave. She's basically said what we all are thinking, but we're scared to say.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was insane.
How did that feel?
Honestly, it was the most amazing feeling, because that was the only thing I was worried about. Like my grandparents' generation.
Yeah.
But she got it. So if she can get it, that's all that matters, really. Do you know what I mean? Like whoever doesn't get it, cool. You're not ready. It's not time. But this is the truth. And I think I just have such conviction that it's the truth. It's not rocket science. I'm basically just saying that we should all be free to be ourselves and act on our own good judgment and our own instincts and like trust that we're good people and that we're going to make the right decisions. Like, is that so shocking? I don't think so.
No, it's not. It's not. And sometimes when, like you said, if you were in that environment, you maybe would have made better choices in hindsight.
Yeah.
Because ultimately you made those choices anyway, but it would have been better if you had the support system around it.
Exactly.
Because maybe you wouldn't have made that choice.
Well, I think that a lot of the time we act in opposition
Yes.
to things. So it's like, oh, I'm not allowed? Okay, fucking watch me, you know? Or like everything is wrong. So like, what's right then? Because, or for like with sex, for example, you're not supposed to have sex. So how do you make good judgments within that of like, okay, this is a decent person. This is like a safe place. This is a safe way to, you know what I mean? Yeah. And when everything's wrong, there's no room for good decision making, I think.
And also when you're looking at your male counterparts, your cousins, brothers, or
they can do whatever they want.
It's like, huh? Like, how do you deal with that? It's crazy, especially as a teen. But your experience is quite unique as well, because there's a lot of back and forth between London and Egypt. Yeah. I mean, I know what it's, I've read, so I kind of know what it's like, but just tell me a bit about what that was like in terms of, especially as a teenager, that's very disrupting.
Well, I was really pissed off, to say the least, when I was younger, and every time I moved, I wanted to like kill my parents, basically. Like I was like, wow, you guys are really taking the piss. Yeah. But in hindsight, I'm so grateful because I really have two full lives. You know, I have a full group of friends in Egypt. Like I have so many friends there. I feel really at home there. And that's amazing. Like not everyone who's grown up somewhere other than where they're originally from can say that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I definitely think that, I'm so grateful. But at the time, it was really hard. Thank God for MSN Messenger, honestly, because that was like the only thing. I'd just be on there every day.
Yeah, I picked up on that as well. I'm using MSN. I was going to ask you, do you think, because you mentioned in the book that using MSN and building your friendships that way, you could be a bit more measured. You could edit your words, things like that. Do you think that kind of started your love of writing?
I always have been writing. I think since I was really young. I think moving so often, and like my parents used to fight all the time. So like that turmoil in the house, and my like inner turmoil of being like just taken from country to country. That's what birthed my love of writing, I think, because I needed an outlet. So from a really young age, I used to go to the library like all the time and just sit and read. I used to have like notebooks that I used to write like, God, if I was to read them now, like all these just like heart-wrenching poems of just like how hard life is. And I think that was, really what birthed the love. But then it kind of continued from there. Yeah, like you said, MSN Messenger. I had a blog that was like an anonymous blog when I was like 12.
Oh, no, I was about to say, I thought it was more recent blog.
No, I had like anonymous blogs, like with all my teen angst. And I made friends on there. So like before social media, I was already kind of online making friends.
Mad. What, both here and
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or like in America, like I have a friend on Instagram now and on Facebook who we became friends on this, I can't remember what it was called, like Blooper or something.
I think I remember.
Yeah,
Something like that. Yeah.
long time ago. And then we became friends on Facebook when Facebook started. And yeah, she's like some girl in America who I've never met.
It's just still a pen pal.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Just going back to, we was talking about the multi-generational, and you got like validation from an 80-year-old Egyptian lady. But I mean, so I saw on your Instagram stories that your dad's reading through the book.
Yeah.
And he mentioned something about don't let your granddad see this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously,
I think
male and female side's a bit different.
Well, I think the thing is with women is that, well, in many ways, this would have been her experience too.
Right.
Whereas I guess for my grandfather, and he'll probably watch this because he Googles me, I think, and he like he won't really get it as much because for him it will be really alien, you know. It won't be his experience in any way.
Yeah.
He never had sisters. Like his wife, it would
Right.
be a different experience, you know. He wouldn't, and he's a very overprotective. Like he says for his age, like even when he was younger, he was already a dinosaur. That's his word. So he was old fashioned even
Oh, okay.
when he was young.
Right.
But I think what's amazing about him is that, like, he called me last week and he was like, listen, I'm not going to read it, but I'm really proud of you. Like, you wrote a book. Who does that?
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of you and I don't need to read it. I already know you inside out. Like,
Right.
there's nothing that I can, it's fine, you know?
Yeah.
So he still is proud, and that's really what matters. He doesn't need to read it.
Definitely. How's it been? Because presumably you kind of coop up and write this book.
Yeah.
And you're like, in your own shell, and then all of a sudden the book's out, you have to be out, you have to kind of bring yourself out of the shell and then hear people's opinions as well.
It's really weird. People keep telling me not to read the reviews, and I've not been doing a very good job of listening. It's
But
hard
who's
not
been-
to
who's
read
been
it
saying that,
though.
like,
Everyone, like
accomplished
other
authors or-
authors, they're like,
Yeah.
do not read the reviews, and I'm like googling my name.
Amazon reviews. Yeah.
So far, I'm happy. So it's fine,
Yeah.
but I need to stop. I should definitely stop. But yeah, it's really weird. Like I literally spent a year and a half ish, like locked in my house. And when I say locked in my house, like I hardly saw anyone.
Yeah.
Like I'd see like my mom, you know, or like my best friend who like I didn't even need to make any effort with. Like I couldn't be beyond my comfort zone. It was too much. So yeah, being out now is really bizarre. I've been slowly easing myself back in a little bit. Like the book, I guess I submitted it like, I don't know, a few months ago now. So I've been slowly coming back to myself and to the world.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I feel like I'm a completely different person.
Going through this.
Yeah, like I'm completely different from when I started the
In
book.
what ways?
Like, I can't have like basic chat.
Yes.
I can't be like, how the weather? Like I really I couldn't care less.
Right.
And I'm a lot more comfortable in my skin for sure. And like what I want. If I don't want to go somewhere, I'm not going. If I don't like you, I'm not going to bother. Like,
Yeah.
not to say I'm a dick, but I mean, I'm not going to like damage my own mental health
Yeah, for sure.
for other people. Whereas I feel like I used to put myself in situations I might not have wanted to be in, or I'd be like, oh, this is like a cool place to be, let me go, or
Yep.
I'm really tired, no, but I have FOMO, like I can't miss this night out, you know. I'd push myself to do loads of things that now I'm like, whatever, like who cares, oh, it's another party, or oh yay, like doing it for the gram, like I really can't.
Yeah, definitely not.
And I used to I wanted to be in like the cool place. I always like wanted to have like nice photos to post on Instagram, and now I'm like, whatevs.
Yeah. Well, your values change, innit? And
Yeah.
like you said, being like going through this 2.5 year process of literally like being comfortable in your skin, because it's a
Yeah.
very revealing book.
Yeah.
You know, and you're kind of recounting from your childhood up until now. So even that process, for most people, you don't really do that. You don't really go back and think, oh, what are my major anchor points? Like, what really made me who I am, and what do I have to say to the world right now? And when you actually sit there and you ask yourself that, it's like, oh, wow, there's a lot of things here that either I don't want to remember, or I don't want to go through, or, you know, or there could be great things as well that you may have forgotten, but just that whole process, really, you're going back into your own skin.
I think it really helps you make peace with a lot of things as well.
You described it as catharsis.
Yeah, it was very, 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 oh my God, I can't even tell you how much. Like, so much. So much. Like, you just, even the people, like, there's someone called Satan in there who, you know, and like, I'm not even mad. Like, I don't even care anymore. You know, I don't think I even spoke about him that badly. It was just like, this is what happened, you know? And I feel like what was really interesting actually is as I finished writing the book, I turned 30.
Right.
And that was a really interesting, it just felt like the end of all of that kind of turmoil. And not to say that I'm not going to have problems. Like, I'm sure things are going to happen and I'm going to still change. I'm definitely not the person I'm going to be forever. But it felt like a real end to like the teenage 20 kind of trying to figure things out. Like, I know who I am now, and I like her. Like, she's cool.
That's brilliant. That's really good. We're talking about going back through your childhood, but I've actually got a question about that. So you described going into school and like being fresh off the boat, and that being the first experience of people telling you you're brown. Yeah. What was that like?
It's funny because it's never something that I thought about. It only came to me as I was writing the book.
Yes.
I never thought like, oh, it just wasn't a thing. But yeah, at the time it did feel like, in hindsight now when I think about it, it did feel weird. Like, it wasn't even so much the color of my skin. It was more like the color of my hair, like on my body.
Right.
You know, like, I'll never forget when that girl pointed. She was like, why do you have hair? And it was on the back of my neck. And I wanted the ground to like swallow me up, you know, like I was so ashamed. And I remember, or like my curly hair, like I'd have it in a ponytail and it would be tight at the front, so it's kind of straight, and then there'd be like a puff of curl at the back. And this girl, I remember so well, she'd make fun of me, like, why is your hair like that, kind of thing. And it was more stuff like that I was like, God. And kids are so mean. Kids can be really mean. I don't think they realize the power of words.
Yeah, man. And that stuff sticks as well.
It does. I still remember it.
Yeah.
I can remember where I was. Like, I was walking around the school. You know, like, I remember it so well.
Yeah. Because you described other kids being your first mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
a lot
that's
of people
often
would
the case.
resonate with that. Definitely. I mean, I think you said a couple of things in the book that I really resonated with. And that's, I think as brown or people of color, or whatever the term is now, or whatever, even when we watch movies and things like that, TV, whatever, if you don't see a character that looks like you, I mean, as kids, you're not really concerned about that. I think you just resonate with who the character is. You see the character of the person first.
Exactly. I wonder what it is that changes as you get older, why it becomes, because it is really important to see people who look like you and stuff. But I wonder what it is that when you're young, you don't even notice that in a way, I don't think.
No. Because you're just looking at it as a character. Okay, that's the villain, that's the hero. It doesn't necessarily matter that person is.
Or do you think that's because we didn't have a choice? We had to find ourselves in them.
Yeah, but I think because of that, I think we have built up a level of empathy or something for people. I mean, for me, I see people as they are first. I think partly because of that.
Yeah.
Going through that, and you just see people as they are. You see their characters first.
It's weird to think that people don't, you know?
Exactly. But when you said about like other kids being your mirror for the first time, that really, really resonated. I was like, wow, because I mean, I didn't live in Cairo and come back to London, but I think a lot of people do have that experience of being an outsider, which is what your book's all about, ultimately, isn't it?
I think that everyone really feels like an outsider at one point or another, like whether it's because of an opinion that you have, or like how much money you have, or where you live, or like what your color of your skin is, or whatever. There's always going to be something that makes you feel like an outsider. And I feel like something that I really wanted to do with the book as well was just really just show like a human story, because at the end of the day, we are all human, and we want the same things. We get sad about the same things. We hope for the same things for our loved ones, you know? And I feel like, it's really this phase that we're in, or not phase, because I guess there's always been versions of this, but like othering people. It's
Good
just
term. Othering, yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah, it is.
It's like, what are you doing? Like, can you not see you pee, I pee? Like, we all go to the bathroom. Like, we're all going to die. We're going to be buried in the same ground. It's bizarre.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. But I guess people want to feel better than other people. But yeah, it's not good for us.
No.
Not good
it's
for
not.
us.
Like, people are dying. Anyway, not to get too deep, but it's just like, what the hell, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go back somewhere else.
So you mentioned like turning 30 and you feeling like not a brand new person. Is that fair to say?
No, there's a quote that I love, and it says, "I never change. I simply become more myself."
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like I've never been more myself. And it's a nice feeling. It feels like I really unpicked all of the... And this is what I hope that the book helps other people do for themselves too, is you unpick, I've been told this, or I've been told that I should believe that, or that I should do this, or that I should be that. What do I think? Because at the end of the day, we can't live for other people, you know? You have to kind of make your own decisions. And again, trust that they're the right ones, or that you'll learn if not, and kind of just have faith in yourself, basically, and that you need to just be the best person that you can be. You can't be your cousin's, aunt's, son's, dog's, like, idea of who you should be.
Yeah. Because you said, like, growing up, a lot of the comments were, oh, what would the neighbours think, or what would this aunt think, or... Why is that?
I don't really know. I think that in a lot of cultures, like Arab culture, it is a very communal... You know, like I said in chapter 3, I talk about how like Arab friendships are so amazing, and you'll never die alone. Like if you're in a car crash, like the whole street will stop and like die with you, basically. And I feel like that's amazing. And the flip side of that is that they then feel like they are right to have an opinion on the rest of your life.
Right.
And I think that's what it is. It's like, I can go knock on anyone's door and they'll give me tea and they'll be so generous and so hospitable. But then they'll also judge me because they feel like we're all reflective of each other, I guess, or we're all... I don't know. It's the only thing that I can think, basically, is that we're in such a communal mindset, which is amazing. But then the flip side of that is that we're in a communal mindset, so they have the right to judge me.
Right. So do you think it's more like, although you're not family necessarily, but it's like you'll bring shame upon this community?
Yeah. Or maybe it's like, oh, I want to protect you from God's wrath. I don't know. That's just
so
like...
there's a mix of different beliefs and stuff like that as well. Wow.
A lot of it is to do with honor and shame, and, you know, this is like our family name, or this is, you know, don't bring shame on us, basically.
So that really relates to the invisible jury.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been able to navigate that probably more so recently than growing up, but everyone has an invisible jury as well.
Sure.
How did you deal with that, or how do you deal with that? Because obviously it never goes away.
No, it doesn't.
It never goes away. And I don't know. Everyone has their own version of like the X Factor panel or the Britain's Got Talent panel. And it's just like these people.
Oh my God, I'm so going to think of it like that.
Seriously, that's how I think of it. Seriously. And I don't know why. But there's certain people that pop into your head, and as soon as you share something, and that's, I mean, predominantly it's going to be on social media nowadays, but with you, your book, or anything that you're writing or posting, or with a podcast or whatever, it's like the invisible jury is the
Yeah.
first people you see in your head, and it's why is that, and how do you deal with that for people? I mean, yeah, I mean, you've got kind of some takeaways around that, but
I have a theory that people are really scared of themselves. So it's like, I might want to, like, say for example, you are smoking a cigarette. I don't know, it's the first thing I thought of. Say you're smoking a cigarette and I want to smoke a cigarette, but I don't, but it's bad, you know, I'm scared of that. So I'm like, don't. And in policing you, I'm policing myself, because if
Right.
you can do whatever you want, maybe I can do whatever I want. And what's that going to look like? Maybe I'm like going to go nuts and I'm not going to be able to control myself and it's all going to just be nuts. So let us all police each other basically and make sure that we are on this like straight and narrow that I don't know who's invented basically. That's my theory. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's accurate or not.
But how do you, I mean, even down to, I mean, you've got this experience of doing the book and coming out and having that almost like, I don't give a shit. Like, I am who I am. I'm happy with that. For people that haven't written a book, how would you suggest that they attain a little of that so they can just be more comfortable in their own skin?
I think that that's a really difficult question, because some people can get in trouble for not caring, if you know what I mean. So I think there's that to consider as well, of like, okay, my parents are really chill, like I'm not going to get locked in my room or whatever, God forbid. So it's also kind of figuring that out of like how, and it's sad to say, I don't want to have to say that, but it's also like how I think at the end of the day, we have to live as authentically to ourselves as we can. So like if there's limits on that in a certain way because you're going to really get in trouble, then it's sort of doing what you can within those limits. But I think, I hate saying that, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
But I think that in order to do that, we have to really think about what it is that we believe. And I think, okay, fine, it came out because I wrote the book, but I think you can, obviously you can do it without writing the book, is where you sort of really think about, okay, this is what I've been told. Do I believe that? Because if I do, cool, fine, go ahead, you know. But if I don't believe it, what can I do within my limits to live as authentically as I can to myself?
It's very good. Very good. Let's talk about, I mean, there's a couple of chapters about sex and marriage and expectancy around that. And I was like alarmed to hear that there's like, there's like surgery.
Yeah, you never heard about it before?
No.
Yeah.
Like, that was bizarre to me.
What,
like,
hymen reconstruction?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's how, like, the invisible jury, and the judgment around that, it's just
But
crazy.
you could get killed. It's called so-called honor killings.
Yeah.
So in reaction to that, yeah, some people are literally trying to re-sew themselves up.
That's crazy. That's crazy. But it was almost like an invisible cage as well that women are living in.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's not just Middle Eastern women, but it's women in general.
Yeah. There used to be chastity belts here.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane. It's
Yeah.
insane. Yeah, it's really sad. I think it's really sad that women all over the world are so, like, it's just crazy. They're so put into these, like, narrow boxes of how we're supposed to live. And I think it's amazing what's happening right now is that I think that so much of the younger generation especially are kind of on the shoulders of everyone who's come before them, really starting to speak out about these things and being like, this is bullshit. You know, I'm not going to just shut up and take it. You know, even like with Me Too, all of these kind of things, it feels like we've really reached a turning point in a way where it's just not acceptable anymore. And I think there's still a long way to go. But I think the more people who feel like they can speak out about these things and who can even draw attention to some of these inequalities, because so much of it really goes unnoticed in a way. Like, I remember I was on the bus and there was this man, and he was wearing these tiny little hot pants, like gym shorts, and he was stretching on the street, and he had like his leg up, and he was like proper like stretching, and it was totally fine. And I remember thinking, my first thought was like, God, how lucky that you can stretch in the street like that,
right,
and not be worried that someone's going to like come rape you, or someone's going to like whistle at you, or come and sexualize you. No one's sexualizing you. You're literally just stretching in the street, and that's fine.
Freedom.
I've never seen a woman do that. Have you?
Not in hot pants.
Even in like long trousers.
But in London,
they would...
that's weird. That's bizarre.
But it's true.
Yeah.
Like it's a real thing that you have to think about. Like, okay, can I not to be alarmist, you know, but it is something that as women we consider.
Yeah. Talk about consideration as well. So you were in an interracial relationship.
Yeah. It's so weird to even like say
I know,
that.
like really. You're in a relationship, but how was that perceived in your community, in your family? Because you know, over here it's a normal thing, but maybe in Egypt it's
well, my family, my immediate family, again, like really chill. My parents loved him. Like he used to come on holiday with us, like super chill. Wow, and it was very disappointing for me to realize that in Egypt it wasn't that chill. Again, like I come from a very like privileged background in Egypt. Everyone is well traveled and like well read and like all of these things, which softened it a little bit. But then at the same time, it was almost more shocking because it was like, what the hell, you know?
It was more shocking hearing their opinions.
Yeah, like they were less shocked than someone else might have been, but then it was shocking to me that they were still shocked.
Right.
Because I was like, this is so weird. Like, how the hell are you guys so backwards? Yeah, but again, I'm very lucky that at the end of the day, they loved me. So anything that I did, they were fine with because they trusted my judgment. And because and he was great, to be honest. So like everyone who met him, they were like, oh, he's so sweet. Oh my God, he's completely changed my stereotype of like what it means, which is just horrible. But this is why we need like everyone to just be open, and we need everyone to be telling their stories because we're all human. So they'd meet him and they'd be like, oh, you're great. Oh, okay. Oh, I forgot that you're black now. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It wasn't the first thing that they immediately, they stopped othering him because they saw that he was the same as them, you know?
It's bizarre, isn't it? Like, once you bring people close and they realize, you know, how similar they are, or how similar we are, so many of those negative parts of us just disappear.
Which is why I think that a lot of it comes down to like, ignorance sounds like a bad word, but I mean ignorance in terms of just not knowing or not being around or not seeing or not being, what's the word I'm looking for? Exposed to different things.
Definitely. I think, I mean, the state of culture at the moment, I think a lot of it is people don't realize that, you know, what they're saying or what they're doing is actually offensive or hurtful to other people. Yeah. But I think a lot of the times, if they're made aware, they're like, "Oh, I actually didn't know. Sorry."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I mean, we live in such a shouty world at the moment in terms of like, you say something on Twitter or someone says something, you're gonna have a mob behind you. So it kind of pushes people away rather than bring them together. And I think, like you said, the more people that are coming out with their stories and things like that, the closer we'll get.
Yeah. I'm in such two minds about it though, because half of me is like, oh, we need to, like, we really have this opportunity to move away from all the like old racist, sexist, like all these old, they should be old ideas. So we should really forge forward in that, and kind of, if someone says something wrong, we should tell them that it's wrong because we need to get past this. And then the other half of me is like, okay, so we're in this turning point now where again we have the opportunity to enter this new world, and some people, you're not trying to be offensive, you know, you genuinely maybe don't know, or you're genuinely asking a question, or you genuinely haven't been exposed to, like, you might not know that that's wrong, basically. Yes, yeah. So should we just be like, fuck you and like cancel you, or should we kind of try and help increase understanding across the board, because no one's born knowing everything. And if we're trying to be better, is that enough? Shouldn't it be enough?
I think people should help more.
Yeah.
Like, if someone's... Obviously, there's some people that are just trolls, innit? But if someone's generally asking a question, maybe that person needs help, you know? But nuance is not great on the internet.
No.
You just see text and people don't even, like, really... There's no human element really to it. So everyone's just shouting at each other. But I think people just need education, you know? And we're here to kind of educate each other, so...
Exactly that.
Let's just shift gears a bit and talk about the actual writing process.
Okay.
Because, you know, writing a book to people may sound like, all right, I'm going to start at the beginning, finish at the end, and that's it. But, you know, as a musician, as a songwriter, I know that it's not like that at all. It's really messy.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of going back and editing, and there's a lot of things change. Like, if I looked at my first draft now, or even my proposal to what the finished book is, it's probably very, 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 very different. Like, the ideas were always there.
Yeah.
But I think, and I don't know, it's probably the same writing a song. Like, you're kind of coming up with it as you go along.
Yeah.
So, like,
How did
you
you know
can
when it was
change your
finished?
ideas. I had a deadline.
That helps.
I could still be editing it today, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think that's like, done is better than perfect, you know? Because there's
Definitely.
no such thing as perfect. So you do have to just be like, okay, done, out in the world now.
That's it. Do you have that feeling of, you know, now it's done and it's literally out in the world,
Yeah.
that this is no longer yours?
Yes. And I think it's important to do that, because otherwise you're too close to it. Like, I've taken what I could out of it. I learned, I grew, I changed, I wrote it. And now someone can read it and be drawn to it one chapter. Someone else can read it and relate to something else entirely. And it almost belongs to the reader now and what they want to take out of it. Because in reading it, they're going to put their own experiences in. They're going to read it with their own viewpoints, with their own eyes, basically. So they're going to probably see things that I didn't even put in there, you know?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And also, like, your experience over the last 20, 30 years... people are still going to go through similar situations now, and obviously in different societies there's going to be different levels of, you know, how extreme that is, but it's still going to resonate with so many people. And the great thing about books is that they last forever.
Yeah, gosh.
What does that feel like though as well? Like, what do you want people to really get from this book?
Honestly, I really want everyone to feel free to be themselves, you know, to kind of really unpick, like, okay, my family told me this, my culture told me this, my religion told me this. Cool. What do I think? Because that's not always the same thing. And I think, again, like it's really important to live authentically, because otherwise, like, what are we doing? So that's number one.
Yeah.
And I also just really want to humanize this, like, culture and this religion that people are really scared of right now. And I think that's really sad, you know? Like, there's so many narratives that need to be told.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is for sure one of them. So I really wanted to contribute to that.
That's amazing. And with those two things, have you got, like, feedback from that? Have you had any, like, validation on?
So much.
Yeah. How's that been?
It's really been like...
It's like...
It's so nice. Like, I can't, every day on Instagram I'm getting, and also I think because I chronicled the writing process so much on social media, people are like, finally the book,
exactly.
and I'm like, it's basically not even, like, it just came out, you know? So it's nice. It feels like people have been waiting for it in hopes of seeing themselves in it. And so many people are like, oh my God, you're in my head. This is exactly my life. Like, you're like, I've never thought that I would see anyone that, like, really encapsulated my feelings, you know? And I'm just like, God, that's so lovely. But then on the other side is that this is, of course, not going to speak for every single Middle Eastern woman out there.
Of course.
And nor should it.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the burdens, and I tweeted this the other day actually, is one of the burdens of being like a person of color or coming out with a book or any kind of anything, is that some people expect it to speak for everyone. And that's never the case. I think one of the things about white privilege is that, this is what I wrote in my tweet, is one of the things about white privilege is that you are allowed to be an individual, and your story doesn't necessarily need to reflect every single other white person in the whole entire world.
Yeah.
But like an Arab woman releasing a book, it's like, oh, but you ignored the Arab woman who lives in Afghanistan, and and it's like, no, dude, calm down.
Yeah.
She should tell her story too.
Exactly.
You
need a diversity of stories.
Exactly.
And voices.
Exactly.
To really paint the culture so everyone can really understand it. For sure. And that really goes back to what we were saying about seeing different characters in movies and stuff. They're just characters, they're not speaking for the whole existence,
And that's the problem, is I think we're often supposed to. And it's like, this is a huge responsibility. That's not at all what we're trying to do here,
You're just telling your story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And everyone, and that's why it's so important for everyone who can to tell their stories.
So do you think this will inspire? Well, you hope this will inspire people to tell their own stories.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope, again, that it gives people courage to be themselves and to act on their own volition, basically, instead of, just feeling. And I also think that it's really important to have people to look to who have done it before you.
Yes.
It kind of gives you courage and makes you think like, oh, if they've done it, then maybe I can too.
That is so important, because I do think people feel they need permission.
Yeah.
And it does take a few courageous people to give loads of people permission just by writing a book, or even writing a blog post, or writing a tweet, or a 10-second Instagram of just with your truth. It is really scary doing it, but you just realize how your kind of like most vulnerable moments really, really, really resonate with people, because although we are, we're unique beings, we do all go through the same things. Do you know what I mean? Even like your upbringing was completely different to mine, but I resonated with it so much because, like you said, everyone knows what it feels like to be othered. Yeah.
And I think as well is that we all have imposter syndrome. So like just someone kind of doing it anyways makes you think like, oh, okay, well, maybe I can just ignore my imposter syndrome for a bit, or maybe I can like mute it a little bit, and kind of, we need to like persevere, because I really think that everyone has imposter syndrome. Everyone feels like an other. Everyone feels like weird and silly and vulnerable at times, and it's almost just doing it anyways. It's not waiting to stop feeling like that. It's doing it anyway.
For sure. It's almost like being in a club and no one's dancing. It just takes the first person to give everyone else permission. But that first person still felt vulnerable.
Exactly. Well, unless they were really drunk, then maybe not.
Exactly. Amazing. So you've done an audiobook as well. What was that like, coming out of your shell in your house? You've been locked up, and all of a sudden now you're recording your book.
I actually had to audition.
Really? For your own book?
Yeah, well, I imagine my voice was shit, or like he couldn't understand me, I guess,
Oh, wow.
But I think I was the only person to audition. But I think it was just like to make sure, Like, oh, okay, fine, we can understand what you're saying. Cool, done.
Right, that makes sense. Before
I had to do like a 5-minute little thing. It was funny, actually.
But you mentioned how different it was because you wrote the book in a certain tone.
Yeah.
There's a lot of references. There's other people's voices you've used in there. What was that like actually recording it?
I had a producer who was amazing, so he like really helped, because sometimes I'd be like, wait, should I put an accent on for this person? And he was like, no, just speak normally. But yeah, it was it was a very interesting experience, because obviously I'd written the book. I'd read it like I could probably recite pieces by heart. Like I've read it a million times. But reading it while being recorded and with someone like listening to me reading it and stuff felt like a really different experience, because you have to like emphasize some words, and it depends on the sentence, so you're giving feeling to each sentence. So it reminded me what I had said.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like I was like, oh shit, I'm really saying some stuff. Wow, okay, I'm really saying some stuff.
There is a power
here.
to actually saying things out loud.
Yeah, there is, because you have to give it feeling. So in doing that, it kind of takes on a new life.
Were there any parts where, because when you're sharing your own story and it's very revealing, were there any parts where you're like,
oh my god, the sex chapter, I literally was like, shoot me now. Like, and there's like an old man like listening on the speaker, on the headphones, you know, and I was just like, but he was so cool, and he was like, I totally hear what you're saying, kind of thing. So it was like, oh, okay, cool, fine. That was, those chapters were the hardest to write. They're the hardest to speak about. They're the hardest to do the audiobook. But that again goes back to, that's the main thing where the shame comes from. Yeah. So I'm
that
like,
is. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So it's almost like, okay, cool, you're proving my point by the fact that I'm still kind of a bit awkward about this. So fuck this. I'm not going to be awkward because who are you? Right. The stupid invisible jury of X Factor people
exactly.
or whatever,
X Factor
you know?
Judges.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a really good point. I love that. What's it been like as well, coming from, I'm just going to go back to the writing a book, such a like solo process. You're not really socializing and stuff. And then now you're doing this, you're talking about it out loud, you're going to do 100 more different press things. You have your launch party coming up soon as well.
Yes, I'm so excited.
What's going through your mind as well?
I'm really tired. And I haven't even really started. Like, this is early days of the promo. It feels really nice, honestly, like hearing you like reference things, you know, I'm like, oh my God. It feels really nice to have gone from such a solo endeavor to now be able to talk about it with people, is really just like unreal. I think what I'm really trying to be kind to myself.
Yes.
And just like not, you know, like on this last weekend, I didn't go out at all. I literally was like, I'm going to sit at home and like watch Top Boy and just like chill the fuck out. And I feel like, it's striking the balance, because a lot of the time you forget, okay, eating well is important. You know, going to the gym, like it's going to set me up for the day. When you're busy, you can forget to make time to do those things, even though doing them will make you feel less busy, less stressed, and like do the things better.
It's counterintuitive.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it's been really crazy. But I think that in a way, being so solo for so long helped set me. I'm also like, oh my God, what's happening? But it also helped set me up for the busier, crazier times, because I really learned what it was I needed. Like I have like a gratitude diary I write in every morning and every night, you know, like small things like that, which kind of keep me rooted. And that I had all the time in the world when I was at home to kind of just make these routines for myself has been really good in a way, because I'm trying to keep carrying them on.
That's good. That is really good. So you're going to have a very, very busy few months?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope busy is a good sign. So I hope so, yeah.
That's really good. That's really good. Do you expect to be writing again soon? People
have started asking me, like, are you working on the next book? And I'm like, can you just leave me to just chill for like 5 minutes?
Exactly.
I do have a few ideas of things that I want to do. I have an idea for a book. I won't go into. It's like really early days. Like I have a few things that I want to do, and they're all in the hopes of, again, just telling more of the stories that need to be told. That's like I feel like that's my calling.
That's your mission.
I know it sounds really cheesy, but I'm like, that's what I have to do, is just keep telling stories that are not in the mainstream.
Yeah, it's needed. It's definitely needed. I mean, even if it's giving permission for more people to tell their stories, you know, it's completely needed. Do you see these stories being told visually as well?
Maybe
that would be good. Yeah, it's definitely needed.
Yeah,
it's definitely needed, because it definitely captures.
It's a whole other skill though. I'm like dabbling, but I'm like, whoa. Wow.
Good. If you could go back and speak to Alya first day, going back to when you went to Cairo for a year, what would you tell her, knowing what you know now?
I would say don't give a fuck what anyone thinks. But then at the same time, I really think that like all the things that happen or that we feel or that we do, or I wouldn't want to change anything because everything, all the mistakes and the good things and all the stuff made me who I am today. I don't think the book would have existed had I been any different. And I think that, yeah, everything happens the way it should.
For sure it does. And you've got a very unique viewpoint on it. Like I said, going back and forth and having a life here, having a life in Egypt, being in, because you came from Geneva first, right?
Yeah, I lived, but I feel like that almost doesn't count. Like I was so young.
Yeah.
But yeah, I lived there for 3 years.
Yeah. So it's almost like, I mean, from my perspective, it's like you're a bit of a beacon in terms of you can speak to an experience here, but you can also speak to an experience there, like you said, with your friends back there and with your ex-boyfriend, and because they loved you so much, you were able to peel back some layers from them. So just keep on doing what you're doing, man, because I think it is your calling in terms of telling that story and telling your own story and giving people permission. Like it's even helped me in terms of, like you said, just being comfortable in your own skin and speaking your truth. I think it's going to be amazing. So
thank you.
Congrats.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Where can people find you online?
Yeah.
If you want them to.
Yeah, you can follow me. I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Alya Mooro, ALYAMOORO. And you can order my book on Amazon worldwide.
Worldwide.
Yeah.
Same day shipping. Amazon.
Yes.
Better than Royal Mail, right?
What?
Better than Royal Mail.
Yeah, I think they are, to be honest, but maybe we shouldn't say that.
They're gonna clamp us down. Yeah. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
It's been brilliant.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I did. Please drop a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you hear this, and share with a friend as well. And search Ryan Nile Show on YouTube.